Hello everyone, so welcome back to another video. I know these are far between, but here's a new one. And I know I talked about being done with mixed media in my last video, but I just can't let it go, it seems. So I decided, why can't I combine the two things I like? Which is, as I talked in the last video about, a lot of faces and character drawings. So then since then I've searched up some mixed media that includes more that rather than animals and flowers and stuff that I'm not really 100% interested in drawing. So then I started to experiment in this little journal thing that I have. It's a recycled magazine paper journal with magazine papers from rock magazines, and what I've done with them is I was gonna throw the magazine out, but I tore out some pages and I glued them together and then gesso them, and it was a nightmare. I'm not sure I will ever do that again because it was just ridiculous. I couldn't get the papers to stick. I used different methods. I searched up on Google and on YouTube how to do it, but it was just falling apart. But then I realized some pages stick, and then I kept those, and then I just started gessoing everything, and where pages were starting to come apart I glued them with the gesso, and that sort of worked. I can do a bit in depth about this journal, but it's just a cover from a big scrapbooking page that I cut down, and then I've sewn in 2 inserts with pages. So that's basically how it's constructed. And I have already done one page before this one. I'm gonna show it in another video because I didn't film it this time. But this time I wanted to do a 2-page spread. So what I'm doing right now is just coloring it with a sort of gelatos, but it's a brand that we have in Sweden called Silky Twisters, which I bought from a store called Panduro. And when I first started using them, I didn't really like them because I couldn't get them to work, but this time when I used them over gesso, they worked so much better. When I used them on regular paper, I couldn't make them blend at all. They were just leaving streaks everywhere, so I'm really happy with them right now. So now I grabbed an old book page which I've used before from a book which I bought, and it was already falling apart, so I bought it for these purposes to use in art and such. So I'm just drawing out some butterflies that I am going to decoupage onto the page. So now I'm magically done with cutting out my butterflies. I'm going to use this StazOn Spiced Chai ink, and I'm going to ink up the butterflies to make them look a bit more vintagey. I'm going to use this sponge tool which fits on your finger so you can sponge the color on. I'm not really a fan of these tiny ones. I find that I don't know. I've seen dusters of sorts that are more like brushes, and I think they would work a lot better, because even if I put some on the side before I go into my project, I still get it still looks like dots or like rings when I shade them. It's probably more user error than error with the sponges, but it frustrates me a bit. And here I'm just holding my things, trying to hold them down with a scissor, so so I don't have to get all the ink on my fingers, since StazOn is staying on most of the time. So I'm just trying to clean it off just a little bit, and now I'm just trying to see how I want to arrange my pieces. And this is a girl that I've drawn actually on marker paper, but I drew her and colored her in with colored pencils. I just wanted to try to see how colored pencils worked on marker paper, since marker paper is so slick and smooth. And I mean, it worked pretty good. I enjoyed using the colored pencils on the marker paper, and I might do it again. But I guess the colors aren't as vibrant as if I used them on a regular piece of paper. And as I showed you, I'm using Mod Podge, and this is the glossy version. And later I sort of regretted it. I had in my mind like, oh, I like when things are glossy. And when I was done with attaching the pieces, I realized I don't like when things are glossy. But I haven't decoupaged much in my art. I mostly done it for finished pieces, and then I kind of like the glossy part if you do like boxes, for example, covered in napkins and stuff like that. Then I like the glossy, but in an art piece, when everything surrounding it was matte, it looked kind of weird. So, but I used it for now, and it works, and I like Mod Podge. I don't like the smell. I think it's the worst thing ever, but it works. It does the job, and it looks good. I still kind of like the glossy finish, and the way I solved it was I just started dabbing the Mod Podge over my entire page. I don't know if that was wise or not, but it looked more coherent that way than just having a few glossy parts of the page. And so here I'm just attaching all my little butterflies that I've colored and that are done now. And yeah. So I'm thinking about, I don't know if I'm gonna buy, I know Mod Podge has a matte version, but if I can get some sort of matte medium to glue things instead, and that hopefully doesn't smell as bad, then I'll probably go with that instead, since I dislike the smell so very much of Mod Podge. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I do. And I'm sorry if someone really likes the smell, but I think it's quite nauseating. And here I decided that the page was looking a bit empty, and I like the cutout piece where I had to cut out the butterflies, so I decided to sponge some color on it and use that one to fill out a corner in the page so it would look more busy and filled with stuff. So, here I'm starting to Mod Podge that piece onto the page. It's pretty dry by now. I noticed that the Mod Podge kind of dragged up a bit of the gelato-like pens that I have underneath, but it wasn't too bad. Sometimes I put Mod Podge on both sides, sometimes I do not. It just depends on how good it's sticking at that moment. And this large piece was sticking pretty well. and so it was pretty easy to attach. And now I will soon do something. Here you can see the random dabbing of Mod Podge to get a bit of a glossy finish on the whole page. But what I'm about to do next, I'm still not quite sure if I liked it or not. I found that the page was still a bit bare, but after I had gone completely nuts with my stencil, which is what I'm going to be doing now, I'm not so sure about how I like the outcome. I usually do this with my art pieces. I think something is missing, and then I find something, and then I go overboard with it, and then I'm not sure if I like it or not. It's not too bad, but I could have... less is more, I think, in this piece, but I don't know. I kind of like it too. I have a love-hate relationship with how this stencil work turned out, but here it is at least, so yeah. So we're finally on the home stretch. Here I decided there are a lot of mixed media artists which I enjoy that always goes around with black and shades their element a bit, and they usually have better markers to do it with, but I decided to... First I tried doing it with one of the gelatos, picking up color from that, but I wasn't anywhere near dark enough, so then you could see it very quickly making an appearance, but it was the Derwent Inktense pencil in ink black, and it provided more color, and sometimes it provided too much color, but it's fine because I really like the Inktense pencils a lot, and it did more what I wanted to do than the gelato did in this instance at least. So I decided to shade her, and I was gonna shade the butterflies and the little extra piece. And then I have this issue, I'm gonna call it. It's not an issue, but I just like making black borders around everything. I've discussed this before on this channel, so I decided to also shade the sides of the pages, or the edges I should say, with the same black to make it stick together and have an outline. Unfortunately, that whole thing wasn't captured because my camera ran out of battery, but it was... you get the drift. I just dabbed my pen in water, or my pencil. No, none of those things. My brush, I was gonna say, I'm getting a bit tired. I dip my brush in some water, and then I drag it on the Derwent Inktense pencil. I don't scratch it on something, and then I just put it on the paper. So this is the finished piece, and I really hope you enjoy. So I'll talk to you next time.